So this is not new territory for me. This is certainly new territory for what I do on this show. That much is true. And welcome to the show, everybody. Good to be with you. Presented by Americans for Prosperity, Americans for Prosperity .org. Dig what they're doing, and they let me do this thing right here. This has to do with polling. And if you follow the radio shows, you know that I don't believe any one poll. I got burned, Mitt Romney. I got burned in 2012, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. And then 2016, I know what the polls said about Hillary Clinton, and I said, no, 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 no. I had many an argument with many a friend on air who, to their credit, said, you know what, you had it right. The only thing I had right was an understanding of what they referred to then as the shy Trump voter. And what some of the pollsters over at Trafalgar, the chief pollster, the other day came out and discussed that there is something called the submerged Trump voter. Now, I don't think it's actually about Trump. I think it's actually much greater than that. And I refer to it as the shy right voter. But the concept is that when you take a look at polling right now, there are people on the political right who quite simply won't say what's on their mind. They're not going to be a part of it. They're not going to let a pollster know what's happening. And we've seen this in a lot of different places. One of the most interesting pieces of data that I have ever seen come out was this. It was from the New York Times of all places. And it showed that in the 2020 election, the places where Biden was up, let's say by 8, he won by 1% or less than 1%. But in a place that Biden was up by 3, Trump actually won by 1 or 2. And what it showed was exactly how off base the polling was, how massively misleading, and one could argue, as we sit on the bar stool, purposefully misleading to make you think, don't even bother. Hillary's got this all wrapped up. Hillary didn't have it all wrapped up. And you saw so many on the political left this summer saying, oh, look at all the good news and look at the gas prices coming down. And look what Biden's doing here. And he's got this over there. The left has got it all wrapped up. Polling, if we take a look at how this pollster from Trafalgar is explaining it, Trafalgar's a polling group, can't possibly give you a level of accuracy because the shy right voter, as I call it, he called it the submerged Trump voter. I just don't think it's all about Trump. I think that's where it gets problematic. They're not going to tell a pollster what they want to hear, which is what they honestly are going to do. They are going to either demur or they're going to totally make it up. And we take a look at polling in so many places where you had Fetterman up by so much in Pennsylvania, which is still stunning and shocking because he's not okay. And now you see how much within the margin of error it is. If you were to add this shy right voter, this is a good sign for Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania running for that Senate seat. It was all about Mandela Jones. No, not Mandela Jones. Mandela Barnes, sorry, in Wisconsin. Mondaire Jones in New York. And then Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin. And he was ahead. This Democrat, the socialist, was ahead. I'm using the word socialist. Someone else could disagree with me. That's fine. We'll go with it for now. Let's call it a Democrat. What's the difference? And now you see Ron Johnson ahead, the incumbent senator. You see these places where races are tight. And it's why groups like Axios and others are saying things are swinging to the right. Things are moving for the right. And here's some of the latest. Dems lose ground to Republicans with Latino voters ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. Now, this is actually a different conversation, but still one that is extremely, extremely telling. Sorry about that. I was doubling up my audio. What's very telling about this, so I've got it in a couple of news blocks for you, is not about whether or not we have faith in the polls. Because I'm with you and I think you're with me. The polls do not give any level of accuracy because there is this swath of voters on the political right who absolutely positively will not share honestly with the pollster. That, I believe, is a factual conversation. But this conversation about Latino voters, This one is fascinating. We've discussed for a long time for people who've been part of the radio shows and here, for the political left, if you are black and conservative, you're not really black. If you're Jewish and conservative, you're not really Jewish. If you're gay and conservative, you're not really gay. If you're a woman and conservative, you're not really a woman. If you're Latino and conservative, you're not really Latino. It was Sunny hosted on The View just a week ago, who said, how could a Latino vote for Republicans? That's not voting in your best interest. You're not really, because if you really care about these issues, you're a Democrat. And how ugly and bigoted that is, because it is failing to recognize somebody who happens to be Latino as a person. It is this idea, this evil that somehow, because I have a characteristic like these people over here, therefore I must think like them. I'm a conservative Jew. I do not think like people at my old synagogue, which is why I left, because it was made very clear to me I don't think like the people in my old synagogue. Some of them who are absolutely positively lovely. I don't think I think like everybody at my new synagogue, but man, they're much more accepting. And I sure as bloody heck enjoy the place. This was over there at MSNBC. I thought this was actually a solid piece.
When you go to vote in November, are you going to be a doubtful voter?
I'm a doubtful voter now.
As I got older and smarter, I said, hey, this guy doesn't work for me.
That's now backed up by a new NBC News Telemundo nationwide survey of Latino voters, showing support for a Republican-controlled Congress jumped 5 points in just the past 2 years.
We're not just going to blindly vote in one particular direction. We're going to vote in the direction of folks who are going to be paying attention to the issues that are important to us.
Marisa Morentin lives in Phoenix, Arizona. How is it that you feel as a voter here?
Taken advantage of.
It's a state that had been reliably Republican, but has now turned into a swing state. In 2020, it went for President Biden. Marisa voted Democrat back then, but now says she's not so sure.
I feel like the Democratic National Party looks at my demographics and assumes that I'm going to vote for them. I'm a Latina woman that historically has been the party's bread and butter.
Yes. Yes. Now, look, I don't know if this woman is going to vote for Republicans or not, but at least making that statement. Absolutely true. How many times have we seen this, that the political left looks at certain groups and says, you belong to us. And if you don't do what we tell you, we'll call you a traitor. That is absolutely what's happening. And people realizing, hey, I've got my own thoughts in my own mind. You don't get to decide for me. Oh, you can't tell me I'm part of some group and I'm not allowed to think any other way. Oh, bravo. Now, you saw that the gaining in the 5%. Let me follow this up with another piece from MSNBC. This is twice now.
And now it seems like Republicans doing even better. How do you think it plays out this November?
Well, obviously, it's a major demographic group, growing demographic group, and the switches have been taking place over the past 5 to 10 years. You noted Donald Trump picked up far more Hispanic Latino vote than was anticipated. Those numbers appear to be either stabilized or growing even more in the Republican favor. This goes to show you that this whole notion that the demographics are destiny for the Democrats was wrong, that it wasn't about immigration reform for obvious reasons, but that Hispanic voters have a wide swath of issues that they care about. And in this case, they're like other voters. They care about the economy. They are worried about inflation, and they're worried about the border, too. And those
because they are Americans with their own mind and their own thought, and the progressives took them for granted. And when anybody dared say, hey, I'm not too into this, they were called a traitor and they were called terrible, and, or worse, they were told they were just trying to, appease white people. We've been watching this for years, and we have been saying this for years, but people come to it as they come to it. And it is wonderful to see people come to it. And you'll notice what I said earlier. I have no idea if they're going to vote for Republicans or not. I don't know. But I must admit, while I may hope they don't vote for progressives, maybe that's secondary to this larger scale conversation, that people have different thoughts and different ideas on different subjects, and they aren't a part of the group. I have been saying this about, they talk about LGBTQ, or it's LGBTQI or LGBTQIA. I honestly cannot keep up. And the question that I have asked, because I think this is absolutely abusive of gay men all across the country, absolutely abusive. What if you are gay, but you are not down with children determining their gender? And you're certainly not down with these trans surgeries that take place, this gender affirming care nonsense. Got to do the air quotes. Are you still gay? You're a guy who fought at Stonewall. I'm talking about the Village people, Lower Manhattan. But you fought for your rights. And now you're being told you're not good enough. You're not really gay because you're not down with this or that, the other. It is beyond abusive. Am I the only guy who has noticed that gay men and gay women in America have been told by the LGBTQIA and everybody who's flying a flag with 47 colors on it that they don't count anymore? They did all the work, and now they're not woke enough. Tell me I'm the only person who's noticed that. You're telling me it took a straight white Jew born in Brooklyn who lives in Indiana to figure that one out? Holy crap. But I don't think I'm the only one who's figured it out. I might be the only radio host or host in America saying it out loud. But there are plenty of gay men who have figured this one out and gay women have figured this one out. And they're pretty pissed. Where do they go? What do they do? Well, I would like for everyone to be taking a look at what we're hearing from Latino voters. It doesn't mean you're going to agree with me. It doesn't mean you're going to vote the way I want you to vote. It means that you absolutely have the right to say, yeah, I may have some characteristics that these people over here have, but it doesn't mean I agree with them on everything. It doesn't. I'm Jewish. I'm going to go to high holiday services this week like I did last week. It doesn't mean that I politically align with everybody in the synagogue. It's okay. That's going to happen. It doesn't make me less of a Jew, and it doesn't make them less of a Jew. There are certain policies that I think are questionable when we talk about American policy, a progressive policy, I should say, and Judaism, and you can feel that way in a bunch of things. But the idea that you could only think one way and ought to be a part of this group, that's just not the way it is. And it's great that people are now noticing it and discussing it out loud and saying, wait, I can vote another way. And I certainly don't want to vote for people that do what? Take me for granted, which is exactly what progressives do, especially when I talk about people like Sonny Hostin reinforcing that. How in the world could you possibly say that you're Latino and vote for Republicans? You're not voting in your best interest. It's the same thing as Biden saying, if you don't know if you're going to vote for me or Trump, then you ain't black. But there are plenty of black people who know that they're black and they're just not interested in progressive policies and politics, and certainly not interested in Joe Biden. But it's very possible that Joe Biden has pushed Latinos out because, as you know, he grew up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood.
Of our state is minority, and so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home politically, and so we came here for a long time, both for business and pleasures.
He grew up in Scranton, and as we all know, nothing says Puerto Rico like Scranton, Pennsylvania, the home of Dunder Mifflin. Hold on, that was it from The Office. I never really watched the show, so that was in Scranton, wasn't it? Let's just say it was. Honestly, if I heard Joe Biden talking like that, I'd probably leave him too. I'd probably be like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be a part of these people. Maybe I don't want to be a part of this group right here. Maybe I want out. But leave it to Joe Biden to not tell you the truth, to not tell you what's up. This, to me, was the greatest piece of audio of the day. I don't know if you caught this. They were on Air Force One. The president was going to see hurricane damage from a few years back in Puerto Rico. He's supposed to go to Florida on Wednesday, I believe it is. But did you hear this from Corinne Jean-Pierre, who I admittedly have started calling cringe Jean-Pierre because every time she makes a statement as White House press secretary, you're like, oh, yeah, it's just like that. That was really it like that. This was Corinne Jean-Pierre on Air Force One talking about the economy.
I can say this: our focus has been pretty steadfast, which has been on taking every step to ensure markets are sufficiently supplied to meet demand for a growing global economy. And thanks to our efforts, we have seen some energy prices have declined sharply from their highs, and American consumers are paying far less at the pump. And so that's going to be our focus. Again, not going to comment on what may or may not happen. We'll let the meeting and the folks.
Thanks to our efforts, Americans are paying far less at the pump. Gas prices are up everywhere. Jim Garrity has a fantastic write-up about this at National Review. AAA has been saying that we should see gas prices going back to $5 a gallon. Barrels of oil, whether it be West Texas Intermediate or Brent crude, were down in the 80s, and those were ticking up today, $2 and $3 a barrel. You look, gas prices are up all across the country now. Over the past couple weeks, the Midwest has had its own issues because there was a refinery issue in Indiana, and that caused some Midwest price increases, but we're seeing the price increases everywhere now. They want to tell you that gas prices are down. They are a special group of people. Speaking of a special group of people, look, I'm always okay with people not agreeing with me. I have no issue with it. But if you're going to put bye, Felicia, you're not serious. You're not a serious person. You're not interested in anything. You came here to do what? To think for a second that you could stop, or if you don't like it, don't watch. Bye, Felicia. That's just sad. Right there. They're falling out of line, baited with crumbs of hope, solidarity, and false promises. So solidarity is a really interesting one. Do Latinos feel that, or people who are Latino, or people, I don't know if they call themselves Latino or Hispanic. I've never quite figured that out. I guess different strokes for different folks. All I know is Latinx is not a thing. Do they feel like, that they have been told as a group for decades, this is the people who will take care of you, and if you don't, well, then you're not in solidarity? Because that is kind of my point. When you're called a traitor, it's the same concept. It's the same thing. It's the same issue. So I think you're right there. Paulina, stand-up comic out of New Jersey. We went to high school together. The gas prices are indeed top of mind. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Gas prices are the new Representative Jackie Walorski, the late Congresswoman, who I had the pleasure of having on the show numerous times. She was lovely on the show. Liberals are liberals first. Oh, a Rush Limbaugh reference. Whatever else they may be is a distant second. Now that is absolutely true. That I discussed it as the progressive has very often given up their humanity for their ideology, right? When we talk about LGBTQ, for example, and the gay pride flag specifically, it's a political movement and it's a political flag. It has nothing to do with being gay. It doesn't. We've seen this play out in so many ways. It has nothing to do with being gay. It is a political movement, and so we should say so, and we should treat it as such. That's exactly what we should be working on. 150%. Wait, hold on. I saw where I had another silent majority resurrected. So this goes to this idea that people on the political right, who I call shy right voters, will not give a pollster accurate information. I don't know if you use silent majority in this, maybe. That's interesting, because I think silent majority always referred to something. I didn't always refer to something a little more religious. And so, so that's why I I get your point. I just don't think that bit of terminology fits what it is we're talking about, because I think the people that we're talking about wouldn't just put themselves in a category of religious. It's something far different. If I were to argue what it is, the shy right voter can best be described as, "Dear Lord, just leave me alone and stop calling me a racist, you jerks." It's leave me alone and stop calling me racist, you jerks voter. That's who they are. And so therefore they just don't want to be bothered. They don't want to hear it anymore. They know that this is wrong. They know that this could be better. They'll give it a go. Yes, Republicans aren't as good as being human beings in terms of relating. They're bad at it. Ted Cruz is bad at relating. What do you want from me? I have sat right across from the man. Lovely, lovely guy. Last time I saw him, I gave him a cigar. Don't know if he smoked it. But he's not great at being the relatable cat. Because if you're dealing with facts, logic, and reason, and you don't ever engage emotion in a come let me give you a hug kind of way, it's harder. That's why the left with the emotion and all emotion, they're able to pull at the heartstrings, things like that. I've argued for years now. Republicans have just have to be better at this. Got to be better at talking to people. Got to be better at sharing. You got to be better at it. You got to practice how. If I let's say I was a member of Congress. Let's just say I was a member of I'm not. Let's just say I was a member of Congress. I would be looking to speak to Black churches, Hispanic churches, those groups, whether it be church groups or others, all the time. I would be the guy reaching out everywhere. 150%. I don't know why we don't see more of that. It just never made any sense to me. And I think the reason is that there are too many Republicans who are somehow afraid that they'll say the wrong thing and it'll be taken this way and their opponent will do that. Dear Lord, just talk to people. Don't you see what the data is showing you? What people are literally telling you? They want to be treated well. They want to be spoken to. They don't want to be thought of as a group. They want to be spoken to as people, directly as people, and share their own concerns, thoughts, and ideas. And they want to hear yours. So what the hell are you waiting for? Never. Has always been beyond me. Always been beyond me. Don, I'm glad you're here. And yes, Angel's Envy is very, very good. You know why they call it Angel's Envy, right? Because when you put bourbon in a barrel and then you let it sit there, right? Because it sits in the barrel to become bourbon. And then it's got to be 2 years to be a straight bourbon. And really 4 years is where people think it has the first real opportunity to show some complexion, some flavor. You're getting the wood, that charred oak into the juice, and the juice is coming into the wood. And now the wood, it's really building those flavors. There's evaporation. And so the evaporated part of the barrel is referred to as the angel's share. That's what that's called. And so they said, well, we got the rest, and that's the Angel's Envy, because they didn't get the rest of the bourbon made by Angel's Envy. It's a great name, great bit of marketing, well done and well played. Guys, glad that you were here, and I always appreciate Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org. Let me do this show. It's a good time. It's a good time had by all. By the way, there is a group called it's Salem, right? I'm not on a Salem station. Salem has Red State. I used to work there in town hall and everything else, and they have now Salem News Channel. And our good friend Larry O'Connor, radio host of WMAL in Washington D.C. His show starts tonight at 9:00. He's got a new show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. He's crazier than I am. I do 2 shows a day, and I do this and some other things. He does a morning show in D.C., and then he's going to do a 9 p.m. show. That's nuts. But he's doing it. So 9 p.m., head over there to Salem News Channel and check it out. And say hello to Larry. Say hello to Larry O'Connor. Nice man. Good guy. Decent dude. Like him quite a bit. By the way, I don't know who Zeke is there on Rumble. He tells everybody that he's Mexican. I don't know if that helps. I don't know. I mean, if it, I don't know if it does it get you anywhere to do that. You know, if things, you know, if I could just tell people things that would get me a deal, I would tell everybody I'm Justin Bieber. That's not true. I would never tell anybody I'm Justin Bieber. But holy cow, the money. Am I right? It's nuts. Guys, you are loved and adored. I will catch you tomorrow. Take care.